And I've got the joy deep down in my heart. I'm waking up with your love from the start. I'm chasing the rainbow through the rain. I know it's gonna.
Welcome to Coffee, where friends of faith gather just to talk. Around this table, coffee is more than a beverage. It's a conversation. Coffee, a conversation of friends of faith to encourage and equip. Hello, my name is Kim Crable, and I'm delighted to tell you that I'm going to be your coffee host. You see, coffees are one way God rescued me more than 25 years ago. I was suffering from the nation's #1 disease, loneliness. And I was exhausted from trying to overcome that loneliness by being what everyone expected me to be, without even knowing who I was. I was ready to find and discover the true me. And so I invited some friends into my home to sit around my very own kitchen table for coffee, just to really talk. From those early conversations, I learned that God did not create us to be alone. So how in the world could we possibly be our best on our own? I learned that we are much more alike than we are different. And as we gathered to explore all that we had in common, I found healing for so many of the hurts that I had carried for so long. And do you know the best part about it? I discovered that within my hurts, I could give hope to all those around me. As we gather here for coffee each week, I want this to become your favorite and most comfortable TV place ever. We will explore topics that are relevant to our lives today. And I'll introduce you to a friend or two who will be real with the issues about that, where they are and how they're facing that issue in their life. All along the process, we will develop relationships that really matter. My hope and my prayer is that as we are real and relevant and relational in our conversations, that you'll find that it's right on time for where you are in your life. So let's begin our first talk with some conversation as I invite you to meet some of my friends. Welcome, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me for coffee. Would you just take a minute and introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Diana, born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland, and now I live in York, Pennsylvania. I have 2 grown sons, and I'm a business professional. And I'm just so happy to be here with you guys today.
Oh, so glad to have you.
I'm Ashley from Hunt Valley, Maryland. I've been married to my husband for 14 years, and we have 3 growing children who are the light of our lives. I'm so grateful for my beautiful family. I'm also very artistic and creative, and that's found its way into my career as an interior designer, which I'm also really excited about.
Yeah. Awesome. Hi, I'm Linda Goebel, and I'm from Augusta, Georgia. I've been married for 32 years, and I was working in the business field for 35 years, but I have just recently retired. And that has been a blessing because I can come and do those things that are a passion for my heart. And one of those things is being able to sit and gather around a table and to talk and have conversations with my friends.
Oh my gosh, thank you all so much for joining us, and thank you for joining us. You know, we're going to take time. I've known you all for quite a while, so we're going to talk about this thing called friendship in our very first conversation. So we're going to take just a break and come back because we're going to dive in, aren't we, into this deep subject. We'll see you right back.
Thank you for joining us for coffee. Some of the messages talked about today come from Kim's books. To go deeper into the messages, we invite you to learn more. Burdens to Blessings is Kim's signature work that is being used to help people. Men, women, and teens all over the world discover the power of their stories. Burdens to Blessings can also be used as a study in your church, community, or in your own home. To assist your group, you can order a set of professionally filmed DVDs with chapter-by-chapter teachings by Kim herself, as well as a leadership manual and teaching tips. Cherish is Kim's 365-day devotional. This book will help you discover God's love for you each day. Infinitely More is Kim's latest book that is based on the promise of Ephesians 3:20. God wants to show you how you can truly live your more. You can order these books at our website, kimcrable.org. That's kimcrable.org. Thank you again for joining us. We at Coffee with Kim look forward to hearing from you.
Welcome back to Coffee, conversations of friends of faith to encourage and equip. I have my friends with me here, and we're going to dive into this subject of loneliness. So let's talk about that. My feelings were I did feel so alone. And do you know that the U.S. News reports that 3 out of 4 of us will report that we feel lonely? That's amazing to me in the world of social media, where we can gather 500 friends seemingly overnight. What is happening to us? And what do you think about this loneliness? Have you felt it like I have?
Absolutely. With the social media, you just feel like you are behind the screen. You're not really connecting. And so people just get to see the highlight reels of everybody else's life. And it's like, oh, they're so perfect and they're so this. And you're like sitting there like feeling helpless. Like, how come I'm not out and have all these things, happening to me? So, it's not a get out and touch someone and look into someone's eyes.
The real connection.
Absolutely.
The real connection. Absolutely.
Yes.
What about that real connection, Ashley?
Well, I feel like when you first said loneliness, I feel like I could totally relate to that, because in the past I've even just had moments of being in a room full of people and feeling totally alone and isolated, and that feeling of anxiety, like, do these people even see the real me? And being terrified of that.
You
actually.
feel like you're invisible.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that what you said there, it's such a valid point, because so many times we think of loneliness as like a social isolation. But I wasn't socially isolated. I was leading a women's ministry. I was very involved in my community. But my loneliness reached a desperate level, so it's a feeling of being in the midst of the group and just totally not being understood, not knowing where to go with those feelings. That is the loneliness that we're feeling. So what does that look like? I mean, how does that type of loneliness, how is it manifested in your life? What does it cause us to do?
Causes to withdraw, it causes us to take ourselves out of the mainstream, and if you have a set of friends and you feel like they're not on the same path, you just, and they're not getting you, instead of still leaning in and trying to find points of connection, you just withdraw. You stop meeting up with them, you stay at home, you go from work to straight to home, and you sort of isolate yourself, and that's not the answer.
And one of the things that I did that you just said in so many ways is, when I lost myself in that loneliness, and I would project, my feelings, I didn't see it on other people. And so I began to try to be like everyone else. I can remember walking in churches and social events, and I remember I would think if I could just find one person that didn't look perfect, I would run to them and I would say, I need you to be my friend. I just needed something. Just give me a clue, an indication. But I never saw that. And I remember seeing this show on TV one time where this woman was battling these same type feelings, and finally she just gave up and she went running from her friends, and her friends went running after her, and she said to them as she was sliding down into depression physically and spiritually, but she said, I can't keep up with you all anymore. Right. I can't do it. I can't be all things. One of the ladies looked at her and said, but we don't have it all together either. We're suffering behind closed doors. And I'll never forget that one lady looked up at the others and she said, we should have been talking. Exactly. We should have been talking, real talk.
Authentic.
And that's why I want us to have this show, this program at this time, because I believe that the evil one, that because what we're talking about can isolate us to keep us from even doing what it is that we were created to do and who we were created to be. Yes. I don't know about you all, but when I didn't know who I was, I tried to become who everyone expected me to be.
Absolutely.
And isn't it exhausting?
Yes. It is, and I feel like you lose essentially who God created you to be when you're conforming to what you think everyone else wants you to be.
Comparing yourself with everybody
Absolutely.
else.
Absolutely.
Comparison is definitely the downward spiral.
Yes. And what about fear? I mean, we talk about, what are the components that cause us to, I was so afraid to, it's like I said, if I could find somebody, absolutely.
The fear of not measuring up.
The rejection.
That's right. And not being accepted for just who you are.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, when did you get to a place where you just thought, I know with me, I finally got to a place to where I realized, I can remember one night thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose all my friends if I really tell them who I am, my troubles, my past abuse, all those things. But it dawned on me, Kim, they're not your friends. They want to be, but you're not letting them in.
Right.
You're not allowing them to see the real you. Did you all have moments like that where you just got so tired of being where no one really knew who you really were?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I just got to the place where it was like, I have to bring the walls down. Year after year, you build these walls up. And until you bring them down and actually let your friends come in, you're so busy trying to keep it together. You're trying to keep your kids together. You're trying to keep your house together. And finally, I got to a point where I was like, look, you have to accept me for who I am. I have flaws, just like everybody else. And when I did that, they were more open to me as well. And it's like, you really can begin to heal. And just, there's a freedom there, and when you have those friends, they don't judge you. Right. They are there to lift you up.
But that's not what we think. We think they're going to judge us. Yes. We think we're not going to be accepted. Those are the lies. Yes. What you were talking about describes so perfectly what happened to me when I first decided to let those 7 women in around a table just like this having our coffee. I just decided I have to share who I am. I thought I was walking around vertically, but on the inside I was crawled up in fetal position, crying, just desperate for someone to really understand me, just to be my friend, to really see me for who I was. And I'll never forever forget when I found the courage, and it does take courage, right, ladies? Yes. When I first decided I was going to open my heart up to the thought of friendship, when I began to share my story with people who really thought that they knew me, I'll never forget, after I finished talking about the hurt, the pain, the abuse, and I just closed my eyes. And I think that maybe I was giving them time to escape. It's like, they can't handle this. I'm just close my eyes and let them run out the door, right? But I didn't hear any movement, And I remember when I opened my eyes, I saw the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen. I saw tears. Yes. And I saw love, and I saw acceptance. And for the first time since I was 4 years old, I knew I was going to be okay, because people do accept you, and more so than when you're trying to pretend and trying to be so perfect. Isn't that true?
For sure. I feel like when you set that intention in your heart to heal, and God hears it, He starts to slowly put these people in your life that feel safe to open up to. Yes. And it's not an overnight thing. At least it wasn't for me. I felt like I had to slowly build this foundation, almost like Legos or building blocks. Like you get to know somebody a little bit at a time, and like days or weeks or months later, you get to the next step with them, the next step where you feel safe enough to open up. And it's just beautiful when you look around you and you realize, these people that God has put there in your life.
Yeah, because so many times, when we do open up and share from within, and we're all alike.
In so
In
many
so
ways.
many ways, you know. Yeah, we look different, and we think we're all put together.
We're from the north and the south, and we're Baptist and Methodist, and and all these other things. But that's what I discovered, and that's what I love about our friendships. Is because half the time we can't even remember each other's last names, And it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't even know what church you go to. I don't know. There's so many things, but we focus on what matters most, and that is you're here, and we want to know how we can help one another grow to be who you want to be, who you feel God wants you to be. I want to hit on something, Ashley, that you talked about, because I think it's so important that it is a building process. And why is it a building process, do you think?
That's a good question, and I feel like I've thought about that along the way. I think God, plants these seeds in us that grow very slowly, just like your flowers grow outside. It's not an overnight process. Right. So it's getting to that first level, and then God almost saying, okay, you can do it. Like, let's take that next step. Like, take that next step of courage to get to that next level with your friendship. And He's there right away. I think He wants to be there right in the process with us. Yes. So He almost has us take it slow so that He can be there to witness.
And it's trust too, isn't it? Trust too.
Say you have to build that trust. You have to let.
And why do we have to rebuild trust?
Because we've been hurt, we
so many different ways.
Exactly,
yes.
And we've been
and
sometimes
lied to,
just lied
even
to,
by ourselves.
Isolated, been misunderstood so much that you're fearful of even really trying to get out what you really feel and what's inside. So
and your hurt might be different than my hurt, which is different than yours and yours, but there's that common thread that links us all together, which is we all just want to heal and be whole in God and with each other.
Absolutely, and I think that the beauty of sharing our stories is that healing process. I look back at those first 7 women who I call my rescue crew now. That when I really think about, they were the first ones that I opened my heart to. I look back and I think about, they were partnering, I believe, with Christ Himself to be a healing agent in my life, to really help me understand that it's okay what we've gone through, that your past really can have a purpose, and that there's nothing that we have walked through that we can't grow through, and that our hurts really can be healed. But it is a process, and it takes friends to do that. But the beautiful part about it is as we're healing, we really can be hope for each other if we're willing to talk about it, right?
Yeah. Right. And when we can't see God's love for us, I think the friends that He's put in our life are there to show it to us.
Yes. And that's so true, because I have such dear friends, and I see myself this way, that I'm unworthy. Yeah. I'm not good enough, and I have this inferiority. Yeah. But then I have my true friends that will come alongside of me and say, Linda, no, I wish you could see what I see. Yes. I wish you could see what God sees in you.
And they become like a mirror to us. Yes. They reflect back to us who we really are in the midst of the things that I don't know about you all, but I do believe that in the enemy, that we have an enemy. Yes. But I'll tell you what, he doesn't give me half as much trouble as the inner me. Oh. The things I say to myself, is it not true that we say things to ourselves that we would never say to anybody else?
That is absolutely true.
Yes, and so we need these friends that come along that speak the truth into us. Yes. But I will tell you, it is a fearful thing. Yes. And for any of our viewers who are listening, our new friends, I want you to understand that many times we will sit in our homes or in our offices and we long for true friendship when it's all around us. But someone has to find the courage to step out first. And it was each of us in some case. But once we step out, we see and experience something that we want to hold on to forever, isn't it? We realize that we could not, I can't even imagine not having my friends now to lean on and to run to. It makes me think of Mary in the Bible. When she found out that she was pregnant, she ran to Elizabeth
To share her joy.
Yes. And her trepidation.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. But to feel so supported in both her happiness and in her fear.
And in our world, we want to run from friends. And that's a biblical perspective of where we should build those friendships that we can run to them when we are in that trouble or hurt.
Absolutely. And the same way, we should run to God when we feel that fear and when we feel that, inferiority. We need to just, lean in versus isolate, instead of stepping back. So, it's a wonderful thing when you have a set of friends that you can reach out to. I don't think it's nothing better in the world. And if you have one good friend, that's better than having 10.
That's right. And it all begins, it can begin with us. For so many years, I kept waiting for someone to come knocking on my door. And I realized that maybe God was saying, Kim, you be the one. And maybe with our friends who are listening, or maybe, someone will hear this, like maybe God is giving you this desire because He's saying, quit fleeing in the fear and stand in courage. Just take a stand and go, I'm going to refuse the lies. I'm going to refuse, and just give people a chance. Just give them an opportunity to befriend you, because friends are all around us. Her feeling, 3 out of 4 are saying that they're lonely.
And just that first step of just being open. Absolutely. Having an open heart to it, whether you're the one who's giving or receiving in the friendship. And oftentimes it's both.
Makes a big difference.
It's both, but.
I remember sitting in church and I felt so alone and so isolated, and like I was just invisible because all these other women were around talking to one another. And so I knew I had to do something. I had to step out and start making friends.
And you did. And I remember that. So I remember a time when she wouldn't even talk. We were going to run. We'll be right back in just a minute.
Thank you for joining us for coffee. Some of the messages talked about today come from Kim's books. To go deeper into the messages, we invite you to learn more. Burdens to Blessings is Kim's signature work that is being used to help people. Men, women, and teens all over the world discover the power of their stories. Burdens to Blessings can also be used as a study in your church, community, or in your own home. To assist your group, you can order a set of professionally filmed DVDs with chapter-by-chapter teachings by Kim herself, as well as a leadership manual and teaching tips. Cherish is Kim's 365-day devotional. This book will help you discover God's love for you each day. Infinitely More is Kim's latest book that is based on the promise of Ephesians 3:20. God wants to show you how you can truly live your more. You can order these books at our website, kimcrable.org. That's kimcrable.org. Thank you again for joining us. We at Coffee with Kim look forward to hearing from you.
Welcome back to Coffee with Kim. In our last few minutes, we'd like to take what we've talked about and maybe put some practical application to it. Maybe as you've listened to my friends talk and listened to the situation that I was in, maybe you're thinking to yourself, that's me. I'm so lonesome. I'm wearing these masks trying to be who everyone expects me to be, and I'm exhausted too. If that is you, I would want to remind you that the greatest calling in our lives is to be a friend. We're all looking for a purpose. The greatest purpose that we can have is to love the Lord with all our heart, soul, and mind, and then to love those around us. Friends, that's just friendship. And we don't need to overcomplicate it. We just need to look at the thought that there are people around us all the time. What is God calling us to do about it? One of the things that I learned as we stepped out in our first groups and began to talk was I was reminded of C.S. Lewis's quote when he said that friendship is born at that moment when one person says to another, "What? You too? I thought I was the only one." What do we do in a world that is so consumed with loneliness? Social media, where we're being withdrawn back into ourselves. Some of us, we must take a stand and go, it stops here. And how do we do that? Let me just give you, I want you just to look around. Look, 4 steps. Listen to your heart. What is your heart saying to you? O, open your mind to what could be. O, observe the people who are around you, because God has put people in your place. And K, get to know them. Do something simple. Invite them to coffee. Do whatever it takes. But you could be the one. If you're feeling lonely in your world, I'll guarantee you there are a lot of people around you who are as well. You could be the one who starts something great in your community. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this session of Coffee with Kim, and I hope that you'll come back next time so that we can have another great conversation.
Sunshine, sunshine, where have you gone? Blue sky, I'm holding on for you. I won't let storm clouds get in my way this time. 'Cause I know you're mine. And I've got the joy deep down in my heart. I'm waking up with your love from the start. I'm chasing the rainbow through the rain. I know it's gonna be a beautiful day. Yeah, yeah. And I've got the joy deep down in my heart. I'm waking up with your love from the start. I'm chasing the rainbow through the rain.
Thank you for joining us for coffee. Some of the messages talked about today come from Kim's books. To go deeper into the messages, we invite you to learn more. Burdens to Blessings is Kim's signature work that is being used to help people. Men, women, and teens all over the world discover the power of their stories. Burdens to Blessings can also be used as a study in your church, community, or in your own home. To assist your group, you can order a set of professionally filmed DVDs with chapter-by-chapter teachings by Kim herself, as well as a leadership manual and teaching tips. Cherish is Kim's 365-day devotional. This book will help you discover God's love for you each day. Infinitely More is Kim's latest book that is based on the promise of Ephesians 3:20. God wants to show you how you can truly live your more. You can order these books at our website, kimcrable.org. That's kimcrable.org. Thank you again for joining us. We at Coffee with Kim look forward to hearing from you.